Has Canada become a renter nation?
Well, we're going to find out today. Thank you for joining us. And we're here to talk all things real estate and...
Well, Financial Post is reporting, and I could figure this out without we've talked about this in the past. They're talking about, is Canada becoming a renter nation? And the number of tenants in Canada hits unprecedented heights.
Okay.
And their example, now they talk all about Canada, but Financial Post is using Montreal leads the way with 63% of households renting.
Okay.
Which is interesting because Montreal's not the biggest population center in Canada.
Right.
You think with Toronto and Vancouver making more condo units out there, investors buying them, right?
Sure.
They would be renting them out.
Yeah.
That there's probably more volume between the two bigger cities than Montreal, but that's not what they're going on. They're going on the percentage rate of the most amount of owners. Thinking about Victoria, I read some demographics for James Bay. James Bay is sort of a neighborhood within the downtown core, and they're at 80%. I don't know if that's changed over the last, let's say, decade.
Yeah.
But I think anywhere near some major centers like downtown cores, not so much the suburbs, you're going to find this normally is a higher amount of rental rate than ownership rate.
Sure, of course.
Okay, but let's continue. Renters in Canada, should I stop that? Have climbed to 33% of households, the highest percentage yet, as their numbers are swelled by the high cost of ownership and aging demographics. This article talks specifically between 2016 and 2021.
Okay.
So let's put some more context behind it. By 2021, we already had for BC a foreign buyer tax.
Right.
And then by 2021, we would have had... my point is, you would have to become a permanent resident, not whatever I just said, to avoid this foreign buyer tax.
Yes.
So, you're likely, if you come to BC, you're sort of stuck renting unless you're willing to pay 20% on top of the purchase. So you already have BC stands for bring cash, right? We have the property transfer tax.
Yeah.
And then on new properties, we still have GST. And it being somebody of non-permanent residence,
right,
they're going to have all of these taxes stacked up. And then the 20% tax as well.
Right.
Not on top of, but including.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then
to put that in perspective, I had clients when they just announced that they were paid from an international company. They worked outside of the country, but were also inside the country. And we couldn't get a straight answer from anyone how they would be perceived according to the legislation.
And we haven't got to the foreign buyer ban yet. This is just applying the tax.
Yeah, because they were like, I could end up buying this property, and they loved it. There was a beautiful condo. They said, we could end up buying this, and then we could be facing a 20% tax bill next year.
Oh, and then there's still a possible cost on the exit if they leave the country and sell the property.
So that's
a whole different story.
So they ended up renting, is the point.
Right, so that we have more renters. We haven't even gotten to the foreign buyer ban, so we'll talk about that more. 28 of Canada's 50 major cities.
We have 50 major cities?
I think that's all the cities.
Isn't that all the cities in Canada?
Anyways, have a share of renters higher than the national average, according to the study by real estate site Point 2. I'm familiar with the site, and it's been around for a long time. Based on the latest census data, Montreal leads the way with 63% of households renting. So the share of renters in this country has grown steadily over the past decade, increasing at twice the pace of homeowners between 2016 and 2021. More than 40% of homes built during that time are being rented out, the highest tenant rate in decades.
Okay.
Well, how do you think these condo buildings get built? First off, the developer has to find investors Like they have to pre-sell.
Yeah.
Who do you think's on the pre-sell list? It's going to be like past investors. It's going to be friends of the family or like friends, other people.
Sure.
They're not moving into it. They're helping out as an investment. They'll get a pre-construction price.
Yeah.
This is not an advertised price. This is like you have to know somebody kind of price. I've sold these either on assignments on the back end of it, and it's like, oh, that's so and so. Oh, that's like the last names of the owners match the developers' last names.
Sure.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
Right? So people are speculating to make money on this.
Yeah.
And they would sell it on an assignment before closing, so they would never pay for it.
Sure.
They might have to like make a deposit and that kind of thing and put up some money, but these condos don't get built without investors, without speculators to get there. And also that doesn't mean they're going to sell them and then run away with all the profit kind of thing. Like, you never know. I've got clients who are waiting for pre-sales to get built, and they're going to rent them out.
Yeah.
They're going to rent them out, or they're going to put family members in there. So, their kids are going to grow into those properties.
Sure. I have clients that do the exact same thing. They waited to take, they own their own home otherwise, but they bought something in pre-sale so that they could rent it, so that with they're thinking ahead to one day when they are retired and don't want to live in as big a space as their home, they're going to sell the home or rent the home and move into the condo that they bought, which is now a renter.
How many people, if it's from like, let's say Alberta, Ontario, people that come out here with equity and they purchase property, either like a pre-sale or they plan 10 years ahead.
Mm-hmm.
They buy a condo knowing that they're going to retire here.
Yeah.
They've already decided a long time ago. They watch the prices keep going up. Even in this market now, where we're probably flat. Condos are probably going to take a little bit more of a beating still.
Yeah.
But single family homes and such are probably going to hold their value for the next few years.
Sure.
Okay, fine. So they buy knowing that they're going to be coming here. They get that foothold.
Yeah.
They get today's price. They'll move in 10 years from now or whatever they decide, right? So, anyways, let's move on. Young people still make up the bulk of renters, but baby boomers, the largest demographic group in the population up to 2023, are not far behind. So there's a lot of baby boomers. You can't blame all the prices on baby boomers.
But you know what part of that...
They are renting as well.
Sure. Part of that becomes... I know some who are... one client of mine in particular, that she was seriously considering selling her place and just renting so that she would have zero to think about.
Oh, just like, that's it. I don't want to worry about the roof, the hot water heater,
right? I'm just
or the water heater.
Yeah, and it's just her. So she was like, I'm just going to rent a condo, a nice condo, but I'm going to rent a nice condo. I'm going to sell my place and just live off of the proceeds and
just got some investments
and all that other stuff, and just And that way, for her, that way she can travel whenever she wants to. She can.
Yeah, and then what's the worst that can happen? Like in BC, your rent goes up. I think this year they're allowed to increase it by 3.5%. So as long as your investments are covering this rental increase, and you're not evicted for any like legitimate reason, then you're kind of covered, right?
Yeah, and again, for her, it makes sense. Or she still hasn't done it, or decided not to. But it made sense when she was thinking about it because she wanted to travel.
There we go. Right.
And
perfect.
Yeah.
So. Financial Post keeps going here. Renting has become widespread across all age brackets, said Alexander, author of the Point 2 study.
Yeah.
I can't say that last name.
I don't.
I
think we can get in trouble if we don't say that one right.
I could no. All right. Well, with renters increasing at twice the rate of homeowners during this 5-year period, it begs the question, is renting becoming the go-to housing option for Canadians? Well, we have a foreign buyer ban. So all the people that are coming in are
they're all renters.
Our birth rate, now we have to add 18 years to the birth rate or go back 18 years. So if we're just sort of replacing our population, it's slightly positive. Like slightly net positive after deaths, I guess.
Yeah.
So what are the odds that somebody buys at 19 years old when you can get a mortgage, right? where we know the average age for a first-time home buyer is 36. Average meaning like it's kind of in the middle of the largest part of the group.
Yeah.
Right. If we look at the big wave,
Sure.
yes, there's people buying in their 20s. Yes, there's people buying like in their early 30s, and people still getting their first home after that. So, to say like, oh, there's less young people buying properties. Well, it takes time, right?
Yeah.
If there's what is it? I think the biggest demographic was couples with student loans still buying homes. That's the biggest group.
Okay.
So, anyways, what's something good here? In a country where 18 out of 15 major cities, this is interesting because we talk about affordability, or at least all these articles do. 18 out of 50 major cities have benchmark home prices above $1 million.
I'd like to see that. Because I can think of, so Victoria, Vancouver, Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal. And I don't know them all, so because I know Edmonton's not that way, Calgary's not, and those are two of the big places that they're saying people are moving to right now.
Right, but do they count like Mississauga, Etobicoke? I don't know. Those are the ones I used to drive through all the time, right? So is Burlington at $1 million? If Hamilton is under, Burlington's always been more expensive, always been nicer. So I bet you start looking at like the greater like the GTA or the GVA, whatever. There will be places that are $1 million.
Sure.
To get in.
Yeah, I would get that.
Like,
I'm just I guess for me, I'm putting it all into one.
You're
Everything in
grouping
Toronto and the greater area, everything Edmonton and greater area, everything Calgary and greater area.
Yeah, so like I think between Toronto and Vancouver, you could probably find those.
Yeah.
Right. So, anyhow, yes, it's kind of and like people don't normally buy the median house price or the benchmark house price. Like they buy a condo, they get in the market.
Your first home is not $1 million home in Victoria. It's probably a
not
$450,000, $550,000 one bedroom condo.
Yeah, you get in the market somewhere, right? Like, and I've had first time home buyers. Their budget was like $700,000, but they were a little bit older. They weren't quite 30 yet, but they were both professionals.
Yeah.
And maybe they made some good investments, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So. But I think at the end of the day, this isn't an alarming thing.
Yeah, I think, the headlines are the headlines for a reason. They're trying to sell papers, sell clicks, sell advertising.
Right.
So
let's reverse this. 33% are renting. The last time I read it was 67.5%. So that's, okay, let's wash away the half, right?
Yeah.
67% of homeowners, there's 67% of Canadians are homeowners. That's down 2.5%. So maybe with this article, it's down 3% overall. But in the last, from what I read, from 2015 to now, we've added 1.8 million homeowners. So it fails to mention that, right?
Yeah.
And if we had a little bit more context to the rentals, especially in the last 4 years, our federal policy has been very aggressive on immigration numbers.
Yeah.
So, and then,
but they can't buy a home. You can you can come here and rent a place, but we're not letting you buy a home.
There are exceptions, but really, like, how many people are going
until they sort out the foreign buyer thing, right? Which I think is reevaluated next year,
2027.
Oh,
yeah, we have a couple of more years. It's been extended.
Okay.
So, there's a lot of nuances to this. Not to just say like, oh, look, we're all gonna be renters. You guys are screwed.
Renter nation.
We're gonna be a renter nation.
Renter nation.
I think there's a timeline typically that, if people go to school, they get their education, now they have their debts, at some point you start a family.
Yeah, well, I think we've talked about this before, is you need to have a plan. Because if you just think one day you're going to be able to get into a home, but you haven't saved anything towards a down payment, you haven't worked on establishing good credit, setting some things up so that when the time comes, you're prepared.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. And if we go through this and keep telling our kids, you'll never own a home, well, they're never going to plan to own a home.
We talked about mindset, right?
Yes.
And I keep planting that seed.
Yeah.
Like, you guys can stay. I got 4 kids. So the oldest one's going to turn 18 this year. And I know there's nowhere near a mortgage. Like, he's going to have, he's already worked for himself in the past and
Yeah.
whatever. He doesn't have any money now, but anyways, he's going to be working. He's going to go to school, get his trade, whatever. Planting that seed, like, there's no pressure to get out of the house.
Yeah.
We're in Victoria. It's expensive. You know, even if you buy an investment property, a condo, I don't care if it's I don't care if it's a shoebox. If you can rent that thing out, build equity up over time, and then one day you got the right person, you marry, and then you're gonna have a family. Get out of the house. You already have assets. You can we want to set them up so they're able to be self-sufficient that way, right?
100%.
Even if they leave Victoria, there's always some kind of asset there that is either income producing or at least appreciating over time. Right? So yeah, mindset.
So, I think, and we've spent a lot of time talking about mindset, and
we're not going to stop.
I think we're going to keep talking about it because mindset is the key. Really, you might think, no, it's my job that's the key. No, it's the mindset, or it's the interest rates that's the key, or the mortgage that I can get, or whatever. No, it's mindset. It's all about mindset. So
there was a post talking about affordable housing, and I'm not apologizing for harping on this. But the idea of affordable housing was, the comment was, we're going to have to wait until like better policies come out and more supply is built. And then some other excuse, I forget, like maybe it's which political party's going to fix this for you. And it's funny, when I bought my first condo, nobody told me, oh, you got to wait for the policy to change. No, you got to wait till more condos or first time home buyer, like starter homes are built. No. I worked a lot. Like I didn't have the awesomest job. My boss was awesome. He let me work as many hours a day as I want. Wife went to school. I worked. We had cheap dates. You probably heard me say this before. And we budgeted. We were disciplined. If I was left to my own devices, I probably wouldn't have saved up like that, or known what to do with it. So that definitely having a partner,
100%. Certainly for me, before getting married, and for me, before becoming a Christian, all my money went to the bar. I gave at the bar. But I had no concept of preparing for a future home or future whatever, right? So I got a lot of education I spent more of my tuition money at the bar than at school. So
anyways,
I tell my daughter all the time, the school of hard knocks is an unforgiving teacher. So a simple thing, all of that to say, you know what, the sky is still not falling, the world is not ending, but start somewhere, start preparing, start making a plan, start doing something to get into the market at some level, whatever level that looks like.
Yeah, and if you're renting, that's okay. Not everybody has to buy a property, right? Maybe like you were saying with your client, well, it's a different time in her life, and she doesn't want the responsibility of having a home. And she, that gives her the freedom to travel. That's a lifestyle choice. A friend of mine, old client of mine, really old friend now. Sold her condo, and she got an RV.
Sure.
Or fifth wheel, whatever that's called.
I know somebody who did the same thing.
She wants to travel, so
they love
she's
it.
Decided to do it this way, right?
Yeah, they love it. I know somebody who is just a way more extreme version of an RV. But they live on cruise ships.
Oh, I want to hear about this story. You can tell me that later. But she can work remotely. Some good things came out of COVID, right? Nonetheless.
Anyway, hey, thanks for joining us today. Hope you got some good information out of that. Please take a minute and like and subscribe. It helps us out with getting the word out there. If you know anybody who you think needs to see what we're talking about, please let them know about it.
And of course, if you're thinking of buying or selling real estate in the Greater Victoria area or anywhere on southern Vancouver Island, you can get a hold of us. Our information is in the description below, and we'd be happy to help you. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.
See ya.